Welcome. I am Oiza Daba. Over the next few series, we'll be presenting to you the works at Word of Life International. There's a Yoruba proverb that says, if you remove hunger out of poverty, poverty has ended, it becomes helpless. And that is what Word of Life is all about. It's a hunger relief community resource center that provides emergency food and supportive services to the poor and low-income residents of the community. At Word of Life, they not only feed the body, they feed the soul. And this has been done for the last 20 years, led by Reverend John and Felicia Udo-Okon, with programs designed to help people move from the pantry lines to a life of more self-sufficiency. And so the Word of Life International uses its platform to create programs such as the Root Causes series that held in November and December of 2020. And that addressed the root causes of some of the problems you see in what has been described as one of the poorest congressional districts in America. So moving forward from there, the South Bronx Coalition on Food Insecurity and Racism has been formed and is a coalition that prioritizes the voice of the people who live, work, and worship within the South Bronx community, especially the districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. The focus is on ending food insecurity and hunger, and also tackling systemic racism within the community by building the community power. So all the voices you hear at this meeting, which is the first of the series of meetings that we'll be bringing to you, these are all community voices. So join the Word of Life and continue to build this coalition to end hunger in the South Bronx.
The piece of work that this space and this conversation today is really centered around is talking about organizing and building grassroots power. So there is space once sort of there's a conversation around that and that's set up to really tackle other types of projects around educating coalition members around seeking city funding, setting up a social enterprise, pursuits sort of beyond that grassroots power building. But I just want to sort of root us and center us that the main goal and the main purpose of this conversation is to start to talk about and see if there is a desire to work together to build some of that power, to change policy, to redirect funding, to see in the short and long term how food insecurity can be meaningfully addressed in the South Bronx.
My wife and I have been working on hunger relief in the South Bronx for the past 20 years. And during this period, we have seen that the community continue to struggle with hunger and poverty. The South Bronx has been a food desert. Mr. McKay, Christopher, is a comment that he put on the chat, which has to do with nutritional education. He said without widespread nutritional education, lower prices will not be enough to ensure families choose healthy options when they are given the opportunity. That statement is true. I have been to some bodegas and I've seen where people come in with their food stamp and pick up some cases of beer, and then the bodega owners will swipe some other products like cereal, milk, and the people will walk out with beer. So sometimes it's not that the people don't have the choices. They may have the choice for healthy food, but they may choose not to. So education is very important. You see people come to the food pantry, we give them food, and they turn around and stand at the street corners and sell it. And possibly the children are home without food. So while we are thinking of bringing in more food resources, we also have to think of how do we provide this kind of education that will change. I know it's difficult to change people's behavior. It's difficult, almost impossible. Which is one of the reasons why Word of Life is always in partnership with Bronx Health Reach and other organizations, to engage in what we call beyond food initiatives. Provide nutrition classes, provide fitness program, because at the end of the day, if we cannot bring in holistic approach, we are going to be still in the same situation 5, 10 years, 20 years from now.
We could also prevail upon our local elected officials, not just local, the federal elected officials, to revive a program the government had in the 80s. It's symbolized in my mind by government cheese. We could get dairy products, cheese, butter, flour, that kind of thing through a government program. It was nationwide, and it was definitely helpful to many of us. Other things as well, but those were the major things you could get. And we need to revive that. And I think there'd be some welcome ears in Washington, because they realize that hunger is a problem in the United States and one that has to be tackled. So I think the Biden administration would be open to that sort of thing. And that's it.
In terms of having to gather the data, I said, because without data, we're not going to be able to move forward. So that's going to be something that's really going to be important, and also holding our elected officials accountable and making this, having them make this a major part of their agenda, and that where they have to report back on a very regular basis what's happening, etc. And I think that again, faith-based organizations coming together in a very unified way, what kinds of resources do they have, or how can we pool our resources together? And the last thing is, it's really repeating what people have said, but I just think that in terms of the farms, and really joining together with farms and seeing what we can do in that area.
I know of I don't know if everybody here has ever heard of it. It's called Health Bucks. So what that is it's an initiative that I know Richie, when he was a council member, was part of. And I know Vanessa Gibson is a part of it, where for every Health Bucks, it gives you $2 towards a farmer's market. And that was, Richie had given $30,000 to that program to get those Health Bucks. And we gave it to community leaders. So I know that council member Vanessa Gibson still runs that. So that's a program that we can look to expand if everybody's on board with that, because that's a smart way to get those products from upstate into the city.
Yeah, I just wanted to build on what Oyiza was saying about making connections with students and across systems. As I guess being in the academic world, I also think there's a place for collecting data and getting the information we need to support our case and make a larger case in terms of advocacy, in terms of getting resources. So there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate across various systems.
What brings me joy is in the midst of this pandemic, I'm able to put a smile on people's faces, and by providing food and other services, in other words, feeding their bodies and soul.
I did a survey a couple of years ago. It was on what people were buying in the bodegas, and we asked people what they were buying and if they thought it was healthy. And some people thought that the junk food was healthy. So, it just goes to the level of education in the community in terms of understanding of nutrition. They might not understand the connections between what they're eating and their health. So just keeping that in mind too.
And as we continue to pull ourselves together, I believe that there will be some organizations that will be interested in supporting our efforts. So as we also as we continue to reach out, let us also keep our minds open to organizations that may want to support us, either by providing technical assistance or even providing funding. And wherever that is possible, let us know so that we can follow it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. I am Oiza Adaba. Stay connected as we continue this series.